Question 2 reads as follows. Laura needs to put mesh around 2 seed beds to protect her seedlings. Altogether, she uses 60 meters of mesh. One of the seed beds is a rectangle and the other is a square, as shown in the diagram below. Diagrams, there are two diagrams. You have a rectangle seedbed and a square seedbed. So they say the width of the rectangle seedbed is x meters. That is, as we could clearly see, that is over here, right? That is x. The length there, well, that width there is x. Now the length of the rectangular seedbed is 3 times the width. So if this is x, if the width is x, then the length is 3 times that. 3 times x is really 3x. And I could just fill in the remaining places. So here will be 3x, and here will just simply be x. Simple. Now this is the length of a side of the square seedbed is y meters. Yeah. Square, all the sides are equal. So here will be y, here will be y, and here will be y. Simple. They say using the information given above, derive a simple expression. Now our expression do not have an equal sign. It does not have an equal sign. For y in terms of x. So let me see what we can do here. So what I did is basically I could see that the perimeter around the square and the rectangle should be equal to 60, right? So what I could say here is the perimeter of the rectangle, P subscript R, would simply be 3x multiplied by 2, because you have 2 3x, plus x multiplied by 2, because you have 2x, 2 width, and that will be equal 6x plus 2x will be 8x, right? So that's the perimeter at the rectangle, right? Very important to note. Now the perimeter of the square will simply be, well, you have four sides, four sides that have equal length. So it could be 4 multiplied by y, which will simply be 4y. Simple as that, right? And that will perimeter the rectangle, that will perimeter the square. So the total perimeter, the two shapes there, should be equal to 60, because that is the amount of mesh we have, 60 meters, right? You know, perimeter is measured in meters, right? So so the perimeter of the rectangle plus the perimeter of the square should therefore be equal to 60, right? So we just substitute what is PR, that's 8x, and we substitute what is PS, which is 4y. So plus 4y, and that is equal to 60, right? So if we want, we could solve for y here, right? So 4y, I could actually, let me put that at the bottom there, right? Because I want to put my answer in that space there. So what I could say is 4y, I'm making 4y the subject of the formula, is equal to 60 minus 80. But if I want to solve for y, I got to carry across that 4 and divide each term by 4. So y is equal to 60 minus 8x, and I have to divide each term by 4 there, right? Each term by 4 there. So y is therefore equal, I like to put my x term first, right? So I'm going to put negative 2x plus 15, right? 4 into 60 is 15, right? 4 into negative 8x is negative 2x, and that's my answer there for y. But remember, I could write this as a function. I could say y of x is equal to negative 2x plus 15. But if I want to write this as an expression, notice this expression, I just put in this part here. So my answer will be negative 2x plus 15, right? That is basically, that is y in terms of x, right? Because y is equal to negative 2x plus 15. So this is the expression without the equal sign. Now we're going on to part B here. They say the area of the rectangular seabed is equal to the area of the square bed. Right? Very important to note. Now we have the rectangular bed here. This was 3x is the length, the width is x. So the area will be 3x times x, which will be 6x squared. That's for the rectangle. Now the square, what that was, this was y and this is y. So the area of a square will simply be y squared. But they say the area of the two shapes are basically equal. So therefore, 6x squared must be equal to y squared, basically, right? No, that my bad. That is not 6y squared. That is 3, right? That is 3y squared there. There's a little error there. So this is 3x squared, 3x squared, my bad, right? And this will be 3x squared because 3x by x is 3x squared, right? So yeah, that is it there, right? They say use this information on your answer in A to write down a quadratic equation in terms of x and show that it simplifies to this here. So they give you the answer, we just had to prove that there, right? Um, if we notice something, previously we had y is equal to negative 2x plus 15, right? So we have y squared is equal to 3x squared, right? So basically what I could do if I scroll up back here, right? I have 4y is equal to 6 minus 8x, right? But I have what y squared is in terms of x, right? So what I could do, I could write back that I'll say I'm gonna put this in a different color. So I could say 4y is equal to 60 minus 8x, right? Right, so 4y is equal to 60 minus 8x, but I really want my x to be after the equal sign. So I guess say 4y is equal to negative 8x plus 60. But I know what is y squared, right? So I trying to get y squared here. So how do I get y squared here? I basically square both sides. I could square both sides. Now, there are more than one ways you could do this by doing it like this. So I square in both sides here. So if I square 4y, I'm going to, yeah, let's say 4 squared will be simply 4 to the power 2 is 4 by 4, which is 16. And y to the power 2 is usually y squared. So I get 16y squared there. That is equal to negative 8x plus 60 squared. So negative 8x squared will be positive 64x squared. Now, negative 8x times 60, and you multiply that by 2, you will get negative 960x. Right? So what you do is you multiply 60 by this negative 8x and then you times that answer by 2 because you have to the power 2 there, right? Or you can just basically multiply this twice, right? Negative 8x plus 60 times negative 8x plus 60, expand it out and you'll get the same thing. So what I did, I say 60 times negative 8x and then I multiply that answer by 2, I get negative 960x, right? And then I say 60 raised to the power 2, again, use a calculator for this, you will get plus 3,600. Nice. But I know where is y squared. So what I want to do, I want to get rid of that 16 in front of y squared there. So I'm going to divide everything by 16. Now 16y squared divided by 16 is just y squared, right? 16y squared divided by 16 is 16 will cancel the figure remain with y squared. That is equal to 64x squared divided by 16 will be 4x squared. Now negative 960x divided by 16 will be negative 60x. And 3600 divided by 16 will be plus 225. But wait a minute, ain't I know what is y squared? Yeah, y squared is 3x squared. The one I use that, right? So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna replace the y squared with 3x squared. So I have 3x squared is equal to 4x squared minus 60x plus 225. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring across this 3x squared to the right hand side and it will become negative. So what I'm going to have here now is 4x squared minus 3x squared minus 60x plus that would be 225. Now 4x squared minus 3x squared, that would just be x squared. And you put back your minus 60x and then you put back the plus 25. Well, in this case, this would have been equal to 0, right? To replace that 3x squared, because we had an equal sign, we had to put back that. And this is therefore equal to 0. So that's basically how we prove this. Now, there are more than one ways you could do this, but this is one way that you could do this, right? Now, they say to solve this quadratic equation here, and they say use a specific method, the quadratic formula. Now, they don't really ask this much, but they ask it here, right? So again, you could have scroll back here. Let me see. Yeah, here. Look, roots of a quadratic equation. What is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0? This is the formula. X is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Right? So you have to basically solve for that there. Right? You have to plug in that into your formula there. Right? So as we can see, this is the form ax squared plus bx plus c, and that's equal to 0. So in this case, a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 60, and c is equal to 225. Nice. So now I'm going to write the formula there now. So x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That is all over 2a, right? So basically now you're going to put back your minus sign. Now instead of b, you're going to put negative 60, because that is what b is equal to. Plus or minus, which means that it has two solutions. Quadratic equation has two solutions, right? Square root of b squared, which is really negative 60 squared minus 4 by a, but where's a? A is 1. Multiply by c, but where's c? C is 225, right? Divided by 2, multiplied by a, which is really 1. So in a case like this, you're going to get x is equal to, you have a minus and a minus here, which is going to be a positive. We don't have to put a plus sign, we know that it's positive 60 there. Plus or minus the square roots of, when I work out negative 60 squared minus 4 times 1 times 25, I getting 2,700. So you could just work out what is inside the square root symbol in your calculator. You need to know how to use a calculator. 2 times 1 is basically 2. So what this really working out to be, now you had the two solution here. So let me put it in there one time. So I could say this is x1. That is equal x1 would be actually, before I work out with x1, let me just find the square root of that 271 then. Alright, so x gonna be 60 plus or minus the square root of 2700, which is basically 51.96 all over 2. Well, now I can find for x1, right? So, and x2, so x1 would simply be 60 plus 51.96 all over 2. That would therefore be equal, when you work out that day, you'll get something around 55.98. That is one value of x there. Now the next value of x, right, this could call as x2, could be 60 minus, let me not put that there, that take a look to right over there. I'm going to put that a little below the line there. Right, so I could put it here. So x2 is equal to 60 minus 51.96 all over 2. x2, when you work out this here, you should get something around 4.02. That is my value for x2. So I have my values for x1 and x2 here. Right? Simple. Now let's say to calculate the total area of the two C beds. Total area. Well, let me see what we could do here now. Right? One of the C bed here, right, is basically 3x and x. The next one is a square, which is basically you could say this is root 3x times root 3x, because that was y, not so? Yeah, that is y. And how I get that for y? Well, if I know 3x squared, if I know y was equal to that from above, right? Well, actually no, that was y squared. Y squared is equal to 3x squared, right? If I scroll out back here, look, I have it here. 3x squared is equal to y squared. That's the same thing I said. Y squared is equal to 3x squared. Find the square root of both sides there. Right? Square root of y squared is y. Right? Then I find the square root of 3 multiplied by x, basically. Right? So that is that there. But wait a minute. If I, let's see, remember we did get y up here. Y was the length of the square, right? If we plug in them two x values here, let me see if remember we had two x values, right? We had two x values, but let me see what we could get here. So we had x was equal to 4.02, and we had x was equal to 55.98. 55.98. Right? So therefore, for this was x2 and this was x1. So if you go to find y1 using x1, that will be negative 2 multiplied by 55.98, right, plus 15. Now if you type in this in the calculator, I guarantee you will get a negative answer. But length cannot be negative because length is a scalar quantity, right? Scalar quantity, right? So if length is a scalar quantity, this means that it should only be positive, right? Only be positive. If you're doing physics, you would understand that, right? Length is a scalar quantity. So let me try y2. That is equal to negative 2 multiplied by 4.02 plus 15. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a positive value here. So it would make sense to use this value of x, the x2, 4.02. right? And then our next situation here, I guess, if you plug in the 55.98 for x, and then they work out the perimeter of this rectangle here, and then they work out the perimeter of this square here, and you add it up, I show you would I get something greater than 60, which would have never make any sense, right? So that's our next way you know that you're not supposed to use the x value, apart from getting the negative value here. So we just using x is equal to 4.02. That is the only valid solution of x we could use in this type of question here. Right? So what I could do, I could find the area, just the rectangle here, and multiply it by 2 to get the total area, because they say the area of the rectangular seed bed is equal to the area of the square seed bed. So the both areas are equal. If I find the area of the rectangle, that would be equal to the area of the square. Therefore, I could just add it twice, or just multiply the area of the rectangle twice to get the total area of the two shapes. Right? Um, so that's what we're going to do. So the area of the rectangle, as we did know before, would have been 3x by x, which is really 3x squared. So the area of the rectangle is really 3 multiplied by 4.02. And this will simply be the other square is 3 by 4.02 squared. And you should get something around 48.48 meters squared. Right? But we know that the area of the rectangle is equal to the area of the square. So the total area would therefore be equal to 2 multiplied by 48.48. And that should be equal to 96.96 meters squared. And that is my answer there. Right? Simple as that. Right? So just a recap here. That's basically the solutions for this part here. Part B. Let's zoom out a little bit there. Right. That's basically it there. And this is your solution for number 2, part E. Right? That wraps up question 2 in the 2024 May-June paper.